mentioned, this is an exciting week for Smile Train. We have our international team in New York making plans for the year ahead, taking stock of all the success and challenges we've had, and trying to make the best investments to make sure we can reach as many children as possible around the world who are affected by cleft. So I'll be introducing these lovely ladies in a moment, but before that we also have some other country and regional managers around the room. So you guys can just wave. We have India represented, Brazil, Peru, Bangladesh. So there's a lot of us here, and we'd love to, at the end, answer any more questions that you may have. So, but let's hit it running. The number one thing when I speak to people about Smile Train, they want to know what's really happening on the ground. So I try to tell them about the fancy systems and databases and everything we have here, and it's not nearly as exciting as the lives we're really touching around the world. So straight from different corners, we're going to hear about some of the patients and the doctors and the programs themselves, which like really is the heart and soul of Smile Train. Starting at the far end, we have Mamta.
Hi.
She has been with Smile Train for more than 10 years and has built, along with a team, our largest program in India. She was actually responsible for, there's a city called Varanasi, which some of you might have been to, and think that it's actually our busiest city around the world is Varanasi, India, and the partners who are working there to reach children. So Mamta's been working with that team and now oversees all of our South Asia region. Esther started as a volunteer with Smile Train in 2008 and is now our regional director, and oversees all of Africa, which is a massive undertaking. So we'll get to hear some exciting adventures about what it's like to oversee a whole continent.
Hi.
She's also a doctor herself, so brings some unique skills to the table. And our finance department loves this, is one of the only accountant doctors I've ever heard about. So she's keeping us, our books in order and everyone in line, but also making sure we're helping as many children as possible. And then right to my right, we have Monica, who oversees Central America and the Caribbean. Her background is actually as an orthodontist, and so came from treating children like are the patients we see every day, and we've managed to get her to broaden her reach and now work on speech therapy and surgery and all the great pieces that go into Smile Train programs around the world. So she joined us in 2012 and has just taken the region to a new level. I'll give her one. So let's So just in terms of the flow of the night, I'm going to kick it off with a question for each of them, and then I'd love to open it up to the room and really hear from all of you and answer the questions you have about what's happening around the world. So Mamta, why don't we start with you? I thought, given that you have been with Smile Train more than 10 years, and the longest of any of us up here, you've met so many patients over the years. Is there any particular one that stuck out to you?
Right. I would just like to tell each one of you here that, you know, every child is special. There's so many children out there, especially in a country like India, where, you know, we sponsor 50,000 surgeries every year. We've done almost like, we kind of counting to about 500,000. And, but let me tell you personally, and I mean, Renu can say and my team can say that every single child is special. At that time, when you're actually talking to a child and to a mother, you know, at that moment, nothing else matters. I mean, it doesn't matter that you're the world's largest charity, you've come from Smile Train, you're in 85 countries, you're doing 50,000 surgeries. No. At that time, you're just one person who's just there to facilitate, who just wants that child, you know, in your arms and just say, listen, and just tell the mother, listen, don't worry. Things are going to be fine. I'm be there to help. Whatever you want to know, I'm there. So at that moment, it's just that one little baby out there. And every single day of my life in 10 years, I mean, one could, you know, like doctors see patients every day. They, I've seen doctors treating us like, okay, this one out, this one in, because they're so used to, treating patients and people every single day. So we sometimes feel that like they're so hard-hearted and they, pull patients and put injections here, do this, that, and the other. And one could assume that people like us who've been in the system for like 10 years, who sees cleft children day in and day out, that we would say, okay, it doesn't really matter. I think that's all wrong. Once you're just there, when you look at this little baby and this mother, and with this helplessness in her eyes, because there's so much out there which is, people don't know that this is a birth defect. They feel that it's the curse of gods. There's so many superstitions, there's lack of education, there's poverty, there's illiteracy, and basic know-how is not there. So this lack of awareness actually comes from, there's so much of fear. What is going to happen next? There is this little child who walks into the hospital with a very, very poor mother and father. And all they need is a lot of reassurance. All they need is for us to tell them that, listen, we are there and things are going to be fine. So I think every single day of my life in Smile Train for the last 10 years has been that every time we touch and feel a patient, it's a new experience. I cannot ever replicate that feeling of going and meeting this one child and saying, no, I've seen this so many years ago and I've been in the system for so many years. So what? It's just another baby or it's just another patient. I think that one very specific feeling is very special to me. So, I can go on and on, but I would like to tell you about Pinky, who's obviously a very, very special child. Every children are. But what I would like to tell you about today is that the transformation that we've seen in her from what she was, which is the picture on the left, and what she is today is absolutely amazing. It's like a fairy tale. It's like you can only read in books or you could have only seen in movies. This is a real life story. Even today, like every week, she's on my mobile, so she keeps calling me and saying, listen, how are you? Where are you? Even now, only last night, she was like ringing me up frantically because I was not picking up the phone because of the time difference. So I had to tell her, listen, this is 2 o'clock in the morning. She said, where are you? I said, listen, I'm not even in India. She said, then where are you? I said, I'm in America. Oh, you're in America. So I've seen that child actually bloom. I've seen her from her being, hiding behind her mom's sari and not really knowing what to do in life. Today she's in a boarding school. She's going to school. She's in class 3. She says, every time she calls me and says, hello ma'am, I'm Pinky, how are you? And so I've seen that child. I've seen the confidence, and she's snatches the mobile phone from her father and says, listen, you don't know how to do it, let me dial this number for you. Sometimes, so I've seen what the things that have happened to her in her life, not only in terms of this child, going to school and everything, but I think personally, the confidence, the thing that, I'm no different from you. And she compares herself to me and she said, listen, I said, what do you want to be? She said, I want to be like you when I grew up. I want to be a ma'am, she said, because she calls me ma'am. So she said, I want to be a ma'am when I grow up. I said, sure, you're going to be like me, definitely. She said, I'm going to go to office like you go to office. So, so these things, this transformation that you see in children, it just, she just had like what? She's just had like 2 surgeries because her, she had a unilateral lip. Her nose is a little bit, we still need to work on that. But otherwise, she's a perfect child. She's very, very smart. She has everything working for her. And from being just nobody, because, they never used to go out. She's never been to school ever. She did initially when her lip was not operated, and, children never played with her and said, listen, we don't want to play with her, and, shunned her away and things like that. To now that, in the school, everybody knows that, okay, this is Pinky, and she has a mobile phone, and she has connections in Delhi, so she can call me up anytime. So I think this is just very amazing, and she's a part of my life, so I'm very, very connected to her.
Does it give you goosebumps? I just you can see why this week is my favorite week of the year at Smile Train, because all of them are in town and we get this energy and straight from the programs. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if shameless plug, but if you haven't seen Smile Pinky yet, we actually have a whole documentary film about.
We have DVDs for everyone on the way out.
She is actually an Oscar award-winning
Yes.
little girl.
So that's why when I said America, she said, yeah, even I've been there. I said, yeah, I've been there. I know you are. We were there with you.
Great. Esther, what I thought something neat for you to share is, being that you oversee a whole continent and it's such a diverse place with so many languages and currencies and borders, and you are literally going to countries and launching Smile Train for the very first time. What is that like to just kind of drop in somewhere and build something this incredible from the ground up? How do you approach such a huge challenge like that?
Hello everybody. My English might be a little off, that's because I'm from Africa. And I'm overseeing Sub-Saharan Africa, which is like 42 countries, and we're active in 30. When I joined Smile Train 8 years ago, we were active in 3 countries, and we have grown from 3 to 30. Breaking into a country is, the challenges are from here to Timbuktu and back. If I started over
Literally, for you, they are.
I'll give you an example as close as down the road in Mozambique. They will ask me for an invitation from a country I've never been to, an invitation, a hotel booking, a confirmed air ticket, my bank statements to show that I have the funds to be in Mozambique and to come back. And the barriers are so much. East Africa is easy because we have the integration of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and now Rwanda and Burundi. When you go beyond that, it becomes a whole new ballgame. I remember when I started in 2008, we started out with cold calls. We'd send out letters and send out our contacts, and if somebody contacts us, then we follow up with that person. And it was a snowball. You start with this one partner, and then they refer you to their friend in the other country, and they refer you to another one in another country. And it's building those relationships and getting a strong partner in this country, then that, having experienced the greatness of the Smile Train and the work that we're doing and how our model works, which is really amazing for them. Recently, I was with one partner who told me, of all the organizations that they work with who are donating to their facility, Smile Train is the most straightforward and easy to work with. And that relationship helps us to go into the next country. Much as the barriers are so much, right from the distance to even the airfare, it's more expensive for me to get to DRC, which is one country past Kenya, than coming to the US. Yes, it's crazy. So getting into those countries has not been easy, but we have ridden on the shoulders of giants. You know, with organizations that we have partnered with, and hospitals that have trusted us and seen how well we work and wanted to do more. Our partner in Djibouti came from a referral in Uganda. Our partner in Somaliland came from Senegal. And it's the networking, it's the building of those relationships that have helped us to reach those countries. But I can tell you for a fact, it's a jungle out there.
So you only have 12 more to go.
Yes, 12 more. And then we'll have a food.
So Monica and I are both relatively new moms, and for me, becoming a mom has changed how I feel about the work I do every day. So I wondered if you can share what it's like to see a mother go through the journey of, before surgery and what it's like for them after.
Yeah, well, I have always thought that we, the managers, are in a very blessed position because we get to be close to the patients. And every time I open my email and I see all these tons of emails, everything reduces to the face of the little kid, and you know that whatever you're doing is totally worth it. And when I talk to doctors, I always try to let them know that the work that they are doing is not only for the child, it has a whole context in it. Is the family is involved, is the parents are involved, the whole, cousins, if they have siblings and everything. It's not only the new story that we are building in that patient, because we have patients that have become nurses, that have become doctors, lawyers, and they have this whole story behind. But it's not only them, it's everyone around this patient. And yeah, being a mom is just has turned everything, because I remember that even like a rash, like a diaper rash, for me would be like I would do anything. If someone told me that if I just get upside down for my baby not to cry because of this rash, I would do. So I cannot imagine how hard it is for the moms just to struggle with the feeding. Normal breastfeeding isn't the easiest thing to do. So I just seeing them, these moms like trying to get, nipple with the cleft and the whole thing, and just having them to be informed, because there are so many myths around this, and there are so many lack of information about clefts. It's just you get the power to change this desperation and get this worry and scare to hope. Like to see a mom that goes to a center and she sees some other kids that have gone through all that, and these two kids perfectly, operated and speaking and eating, and they are like, it's worth whatever I have to go through. It's totally worth, because my baby will have a normal life. So after the surgery, they are of course always scared, because they have to go under anesthesia and the procedures. But after the surgery, you see the faces of the mom that they cannot believe. It's just like getting this puzzle done, and they cannot believe how beautiful the baby can look. They love them because they're babies, but they feel like this pride because the face is totally perfect, and the baby will be totally perfect and will have all the opportunities in life. So yes.
Great, great. Well, there's a first glimpse, and I think I'd love to hear what questions you all have, and also if you want to ask for some of the other countries in the room, I'm sure they'd be happy to share stories as well.
I just have a question. I'm from Smile Train, so I should know all of these answers. But the good thing is that when people from all over the world come, you can get kind of context on things. So, being that you're each from such different regions, I was just wondering what is the biggest challenge for you in your region, and just see how if it's similar or different between each of you. So, Malta, for your kind of region, what is kind of the biggest obstacle for you to overcome programmatically?
Right. So for us, I think awareness and outreach are the biggest challenges, because yes, we are a very mature program. We started surgeries like 15, 16 years ago, and we do, like, if you talk in terms of numbers, we do like 50,000 surgeries a year. That's how we sponsor, and we have like 168, 167 partners all over. But we still, there are pockets which are completely, not reachable at all. Patients have to travel like 400, 500 kilometers, travel for 2 days, 3 days to get to a place, change buses, people who've never been out of their homes, who've never seen a train, who've never seen a car, who've never seen a bus. They don't even know what to do and where to go. So, hospitals have to arrange for transport and vans to actually go to their homes, pick them up and get them there. So I think outreach is a big challenge for us. There are pockets which are completely inaccessible in terms of roads. So the infrastructure is very poor. I'm sure most of you know about India. Infrastructure in the hinterland is very poor. So there are no roads. People have to travel on foot for miles before they can actually, reach a road where they can get a transport to come to the hospital. So yes, so infrastructure, outreach is a big challenge. Also awareness, because people still feel that it is how could this happen? If you and I could look normal, how is it possible that a child is born like that with an incomplete palate or an incomplete lip? So they kind of attribute this disability to the curse of gods. So instead of getting the medical treatment, they will go to a temple and spend like months over there asking, why did this happen? And what can I do? Do some rituals, do some, some stuff like that, and the child will be all right one day. So they fall into that trap of godmans and other things to actually help a child. So they really are aware that this is a medical problem, and it is just a a call away from a good hospital or a good center where they can go and get the child treated. So lack of awareness is a big challenge, and outreach is a big challenge for us.
In Africa, we have two challenges, if I was to prioritize. One is access, as she's highlighted, and I won't go through that again, because it's very similar. The patients are coming from very far away, the specialists are in the major cities, and getting them to the specialist is a challenge. Some places, the only way to get from point A to B is by air, like in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. And that's not available to many people. It's either that or you walk the distance. It's really a challenge. Access is a challenge. The other challenge that we have is the specialists. We have countries where there is no plastic surgeon, there is no maxillofacial surgeon, there is no ENT surgeon, there is no surgeon who can do cleft lip and palate surgery. A good example is Burundi. Even if we really wanted to support the surgeries there, unless we're having somebody coming to do it or we're training somebody to do the surgeries, we don't have the specialists. And the countries that have the specialists, they are in the cities. So we have to get the patients to the specialists. We have to create awareness in the rural areas that the surgeries are available in the cities, and then get the patients there. Or do the other way around, get the specialists to go out to the villages and do outreach. So those two are our major challenges.
For us, I think it would be, outreach is also very, very difficult. And we still have some communities and some areas where we, to bring the patient, and in order to give them the right treatment, we will have, the follow-up and the rest of the comprehensive care. They need to come back, so for the transportation and that, it could be a challenge. But I think one of the biggest challenges as well is to inform people, to let them know that there is the way for them to get treatment, that it could be free, and that it could be well done. It's for us, now we are facing this, we have like many groups getting into the country, trying to help through only the surgery, and always the results of this is something that the kids, will really appreciate. So the fact that we need to inform them the way the treatment should be done, I think it's been kind of like a challenge for us.
We actually just completed, we do a partner survey and ask all of our partners around the world, over 1,100 of them, many questions, but one of them are, what are the greatest barriers you have to helping more kids? And the last couple of years, the top of the list was patient transportation. And they have the doctor, they have the nursing, they have safe surgery, but they have such a hard time reaching these children who are isolated in a rural village and letting them know, please come here, and getting them physically there to have the surgery.
So it was really interesting that you talked about awareness, and it's almost like you'd have to tell people about what could happen, although the majority of the people aren't going to experience it. What are some ways that you think that you can give awareness to something that most of the people won't experience, particularly in those rural areas?
Well, I would say that in the rural areas, what we basically do is when, we tie up with the local, the rural communities there. So working there in the communities, I think is very, very important, even if there is no cleft affected child or anyone over there. Getting them on board in terms of letting them know what a cleft is and what really happens in terms of pictures, because we tried this, because initially we would hospitals would write and put up posters or try and train them, but most of the people can't read and write. especially in North India and places like UP and other places which are so very poor, the literacy level, education level is almost nil. But pictures. So if you show them, okay, this is it. This is what a cleft is. So yes, going down to the communities, working with the local government in the sense because government has their people there. So they will have their health workers, for example, who are doing many other things other than whether malaria or diarrhea and so on and so forth, or malnutrition in a country like India. So what we do is our hospitals tie up with them for spreading the message of cleft. So we work with them, we train them, and we tell them that listen, in your whole scheme of things, I know you're doing 1 to 10, but also include this 11th and spread the message and get the message across that if at all they see a cleft child, or if this is not the curse of God, it's actually a medical problem and things like that. So I think the answer to this is yes, working with the local communities and getting the word across.
We actually have like kind of almost toolkits to give to community health workers, for example, and saying, this is what a cleft is.
Yeah.
Here's how especially sometimes the cleft is only the roof of the mouth and not the lip, so that's really hard to detect. So it's things like training midwives that they should run their finger along the roof of the mouth after they deliver the baby. They didn't know that they should do that, but we can help train midwives in that, and then they also always have a place to call to get treatment, so we make it really easy for them. And an aspect that's been touched on is babies born with a cleft are much higher risk of malnutrition, and even sometimes survival. So a lot of our resources are on how to breastfeed a child with a cleft, and how can you even spoon feed them if you need to, and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of education and really working at the grassroots level. And our hospitals with the network that they have as well is just incredible. They're able to reach. And I think our best ambassadors, what I've heard from you all before, is our former patients. They go back to the rural village they're from, and lo and behold, 2 villages away, there's another child that had a cleft, and they sort of had heard that they were there before, and it snowballs into action and getting treatment.
On the question of awareness, I'd be curious if the experience we've just heard about in South Asia or in India, where often it's viewed as a curse,
Yes.
if that's similar in Africa and Central America.
You see, I don't know, but I think from different parts of the world, they have a coincidence that's something about the moon. I mean, we have like many other myths, and I have heard so many stories about it, but speaking with my colleagues, whenever we get together, we have found that the moon is so, has to do
The
with
moon is the
us.
culprit.
So, and even from
All the
the
planets.
ancestors, there's this really strong idea about the moon. But speaking about other myths that I heard, I've heard that when a woman that is pregnant walks through a cemetery, it will get a cleft as
Or
well.
the eclipse, or the eclipse.
Yeah,
Eclipse.
an eclipse, of course. Or if they are walking barefooted, they get this thing from the earth, and that's why they get that.
In Brazil, some Indian tribes in Amazon, the big challenge is to make them don't kill the kids because
Yeah.
they think they're not. Since they are born and they are not perfect, they doesn't deserve to live.
They are diabolic.
And so they kill the baby. So we had already some cases where the tribe knew about centers and they would run away, the couple with the kid, to don't have the kid killed, and would get the kid treated in one of our partners. And then they would come back with the kid treated, and then they would be able to live it with the kid without killing it. It's very hard, but it can happen. So it's also it's a way to give them some hope. It's very hard to reach those tribes because we cannot enter, but when they get some chance to get to know about us, it's a way for them to survive. Yeah, we had some case like that.
the same in Peru, the same in Colombia, the same in Ecuador. I just received a few days ago an email from Troy. Someone sent Troy an email that he had been traveling through the Sierras of Perilla in Venezuela, and that he encountered an indigenous family with a 2-month-old baby with cleft. I just today or yesterday, because I've been traveling, he sent an email saying that he found out that the baby passed. So we were not able to. I had written this person who referred to Troy. I refer him to my partner in Maracaibo, because that's due to the instability of the country. Only in Venezuela, I only have one partner, and I'm going to be visiting Venezuela to have hopefully to contact other doctors. But the baby passed with malnutrition, most likely, and also all these myths about
The
being
myths about
diabolic, and
Yeah.
they killed the baby. That's true. So I don't know what happened precisely in this particular case, but that's how it is.
And this is
And in Africa?
And this is this has existed for so many years that in some places it's very hard to change the way of thinking.
Yeah.
But showing successful cases, it has helped a lot.
It's
Like to show like someone who has like graphically like photos of patients who have gone through the whole.
So the
treatment.
children are welcome back into their community when they
Yes.
come back?
Yes.
If they are treated.
Really? Yeah.
In Africa, it's the same story. There are many myths, ranging from the woman was promiscuous to it was a curse. It's from the side. It's always the woman who is blamed, and it's always the
Yeah.
husband who leaves.
Yeah,
And then the cleft is repaired, and the man comes back.
It's always the woman.
No, it's
Yeah, it is all
Naturally, I'm the
fault.
one carrying the baby, so it must be my problem. And we recently had a case in Ghana where a child was going to be sacrificed because they had a cleft. Luckily for them, a villager knew about Smile Train, so they, convinced them, let me try and help. If I don't get the help, then you're free to go ahead and do whatever you wanted to do. Luckily for the boy, the cleft was repaired, and now he's alive and well. Thank God. We've had, especially the pastoralist communities, they believe that if a child is born with a cleft, they're going to curse their cows. So they kill the children because they want their cattle to survive. And through a lot of awareness and talking to the communities in Uganda, that tradition has now stopped. So it's their myths and their cultural beliefs, but we are working towards getting the communities to understand it could happen to me, could happen to you.
Step by step. And the mothers had the courage to do this. We have in Mexico, we have this really poor state called Chiapas, and we recently got a case of twins. They both were born with clefts. It was a couple that they were older. They had already 3 kids, and they, kind of, oops,
Surprise.
So they got pregnant again, and they had twins, and they both had clefts. So they stayed without asking for help for a while because there's so many cultural things and barriers that they have to go through, and the babies were getting malnourished because it was getting hard for them to eat. Until someone told them, you know what? Go take them to the hospital. Like they are treating people like this, and the community they were saying these kids were diabolic, so they were feeling like really ashamed. So the mother, she was like, you know what? They're my kids, so I'm gonna go and try to get the help that they need. They went to the hospital. They got into this nutrition program first. They got the surgery, and now they are like these chubby, beautiful, chicks kids. And really, like this case goes back to the communities, and it shows everyone that this could be done, and they are like they're gonna grow well, just normal.
I wanted to ask, I have a question, actually, it's not sure that also but I know in Mexico we have a lot of comprehensive care there, including choirs and stuff to help patients after the surgery. Can you talk about a little bit about all of our other care that we provide after surgery?
Right. So the thing about the clefts is that we get a chance to treat them in a way that they get totally rehabilitated. Like speech, usually that they have difficulties speaking, eating, and breathing. So all of these are finally done by all this treatment that needs to have follow-up. One of these is speech, because even if they get the surgery done, even if they get the tools, they need to learn how to use this. Because if they don't get it in the right time, they learn to do it compensating and do like in the wrong way. So sometimes relearn to do something is a little harder, but we have tried to find different ways to make it fun and to make it attractive for the kids. So the speech therapy came with this idea of making a choir. So they make them sing these songs that have been created to practice the phonemes that are very hard for them at the beginning. So they just can, get together, they get fun, and they get to practice. And after they are back home, they keep doing it, like in the shower, singing. So it's like a permanent speech therapy, and we've seen great results. Besides that, they create another community. So these kind of places, of these kind of groups that they create are very strong because they show each other that they can keep doing this, and they tell each other their stories, and that's how they encourage each other.
Mexico also has another innovative speech program, and if anyone in this room has had speech therapy, you probably had this traditional model where you had to go like 2 or 3 times a week, and you sit with someone and you work on sounds, and you heard about how hard it is to even get to a hospital for surgery. So imagine doing that 3 times a week for a year to have speech therapy. So one of our leading partners in Mexico actually created a summer camp, and the kids come together for an intensive month and get to be there and play and learn, and then she's found that this has the same results as having someone come back and forth all year long. So, sometimes the traditional way of doing things doesn't work in the context where we are, and that's where some really neat innovation and creativity can blossom.
May I just ask, for each of your regions, what are you guys most excited about for the next few years? Or any goals or any plans for the future? Growth or anything like that?
Yeah, I think for us, because we've kind of concentrated, and we are continuing to do primary surgeries and stuff like that. But I think now our focus in South Asia is basically providing entire comprehensive care. So yes, we have been doing our speech programs and orthodontics as well, because if you were to treat complete rehab or treat the whole child, so just 1 or 2 surgeries is definitely not enough. So we are investing in a lot of resources and a lot of training in terms of cleft orthodontics and speech. I think that will really complete the entire cleft treatment for a child to be completely normal in all respects. That's what our focus is.
I wanted to make a comment on what you mentioned, Monica, about the choir, because it's so important for these children who are usually bullied. So for them they create kind of like a support group where they attend to the choir. So that helps them boost their self-esteem, because they can relate one to another, in which their children, all of them have cleft, and now they're learning to speak properly, because as you mentioned, treatment, as Nama mentioned, it's a long-term treatment. Treating cleft successfully, surgical repair is super important, but after that,
Yes.
we have to do speech therapy, orthodontic care. So we're talking about years long. It's not only a year or 2, so several years after that. So support groups like in the choir helps them so much to build their self-esteem, because they can relate one to each other, and they create a great support system. Not only the children but the parents as well, because they're so for so many years involved in the treatment. So it's super important.
To answer you, in Africa, we're excited about. Africa is still a growing program, and we are excited about treating more patients younger. And I look forward to a day when every child who is treated in the Smile Train program is being treated before they reach the age of 2 years. They've had both the lip and the palate surgery done. When that day comes, then I will have achieved my dreams. And The second thing we are really excited about is training, because we have reached a point where we are having sustainable training by having the plastic surgeons being trained and establishing that capacity in the countries that it has been lacking. And that mark being made by Smile Train is really exciting.
And your training initiatives are going beyond the surgeon. Can you talk about some of the other aspects of who needs to be trained?
Oh yes. Cleft surgery is not just about the surgeon. We talk a lot about the surgeon, but it's a whole team. Even for the surgery itself, there's the nurses, the anesthetists, and then beyond the surgery, you have the speech therapists, the orthodontists, and we are looking at the trainings in all those spheres. So we have a nurses training, which originated from Africa, developed in Africa, a 3-day training where we train the nurses to own the care of a cleft and to own the management of complications after surgery, which that period of 48 hours after surgery, that's when most of the sentinel events, the serious complications occur. So equipping these nurses with the knowledge of what do I do if a child, for example, stops breathing, before the doctor comes from whatever else he's doing, what can I do as a nurse that will change the life of this child? So that 3-day training equips the nurses with that knowledge. We're also training the anesthetists and speech therapists into the comprehensive care.
And we've now launched that speech program, the nurses training program all over the world. So it grew out of an initiative in Africa, and they've had it in Brandy's hosted in India, we've had it in Brazil. It's really neat to see something that works. How do we scale it everywhere? And I think we're running out of time, so if you want to tackle the same question.
Sure. Well, I think, again, I feel that we're in a very blessed place where we get to go to the partner and see the things that they are very, complications with, or the patients, and see like their standpoint, and think we can get creative about how we can help them fix all these challenges. So in my area, I think something we're going to be working on very hard is in nutrition. So we have many patients who are not well nourished, and it's so cheap and accessible to have a mom to do breastfeeding that this is something we need to push a little bit more. There's just like a lack of information. Mothers get scared because of the cleft, but it could be done. It could be easily, with the right technique, it could be done. So I think we can work on that.
Great. Okay, well, thank you all so much for coming. Feel free to enjoy a glass of wine or some food on your way out. And thank you for supporting Smile Train. Thank you.
What? I was like, you're the only one watching. And he was like, really? Literally the only one.